Good morning, folks. I hope you're doing well. I am here at the Real Bay Area Chess Championships. I don't know that I have a lot to say before the game. I'm a little hungover from last night. Some friends that I went out to a bar and I stayed a little later than I intended to and didn't sleep super well. But we're just here to play some casual chess. I think I'm playing in the under 1500 section. I think I'm going to be doing the games individually rather than uploading them all at once because the recaps get pretty long when I do that. So this is before game one. I'm playing in the under 1500 section. There are, I don't know, 15, 20 competitors. I'm 7th highest rated, maybe something like that, maybe a little higher. So it's going to be a lot of games where I'm playing people lower rated than me and I'm going to lose some rating points. I think it's just going to be a steady decline for me because I'm just never playing anybody higher rated. I need to start playing in these higher sections. But, that's fine. I'm also pretty lucky. I think they have a mask protocol for this event. So I'm lucky to have just had one in my car because otherwise I would have had to drive home. Didn't realize that until I sat down here. And I will give the tournament directors props. There's some pretty funny lines in there. They said, after the tournament, parents, pick up your children. Please pick up your own children. You may not trade them for better chess players. Actually gets me. It might just be because it's morning. Anyways, I've only got 12 minutes until the round starts, so I'm gonna go in and figure out where I'm supposed to be and get all settled in. I'll see you guys after round one.
Okay, folks, so now it's just you and me back at home. Post the tournament, we're going to be doing the analysis of the game. So first game, I'm white against Zach Schuster. He's rated 1071. And so we play e4, and he plays d5, the Scandinavian. I take, and he plays knight f6, which is a move that I'm unfamiliar with. I think it's trying to trade the knights. So for example, were I to play knight b3, takes, queen takes, and now I don't have this move to be able to kick his queen, so his queen just gets to sit in the middle of the board. You'll see that this is equal or slightly favorable for black. So rather than playing knight b3, I play bishop c4. And the thought here is I'm sort of defending the pawn, but like not really. But I am closer to castling than I would have been otherwise. So he takes, and again, if I take, he takes here. I can kick his queen. This is marginally better for black. Yes, because then he could just take this pawn. So taking that knight is not a good move. So I just played knight f3. I continue to develop. The computer likes this very slightly for white. It's pretty drawish, but slight advantage to white. He plays bishop f5. I castle. Doesn't really matter. This pawn's not really under threat. There's nowhere that his knight can go that I'm particularly worried about. And he plays e6. He wants to defend these two creatures here. Now, I played b3 here, and I think that's the wrong move. I think what I need to be doing here is going like this, and then, he moves his bishop out somewhere, and I can take and he can't take back, right? So he has to, for example, move here or move his knight back or something. And I think that would have been a better approach. Just go ahead and put pressure here immediately. Probably would have been a better approach. But, you live and learn. I imagine that in this situation, probably he plays something like knight b6, and then from there, we'd have to see. But I play b3 because I want to get on this long diagonal. Basically, he's going to move his bishop out at some point, and if he doesn't then castle immediately, I'm going to be able to take this pawn. And if he does, then eventually maybe I can get my queen up in this area. But this is too slow, and you'll see that the advantage has gone mildly from white to black. So he plays queen f6, which is correct. Now he's thwarted my bishop's ability to get here, and I play d5, d4, which is among the correct moves from the computer. Basically, this blocks the vision here. I can then play bishop here. And if I can ever get this pawn pushed, then I again have the bishop along the long diagonal. Now, it causes some other problems for me later, but we'll get there when we get there. He plays bishop d6, getting ready to castle. I take, he takes, I play rook check. He moves his bishop back, so now we have less pressure here. And I play knight g5. Now, what the computer wants me to do is it wants to say, like, get out of here, queen. You can go, basically, you can either move your queen here. But now I've prevented you from castling queenside. Not that you were going to, but I continue to have some strong activity. In particular, I can probably stick my knight in here. It allows me to develop. I can push for stuff like c4 if I want to. So that's probably a little bit more resilient. But the thing that I was thinking is if I play knight g5, if I'm able to take this bishop, when he takes back, he has a backwards pawn here. And so then I can sort of solidify and then play against this weakness for the rest of the game. So he castles, I take, he takes with the f-pawn, because obviously you can't take with the queen. And I play bishop e3. Now, the thing that I didn't realize when I was calculating earlier is that the queen is still attacking here, and the queen and the rook, now that this f-pawn are gone, are attacking this f-pawn. So if I ever want to be able to move my queen, I have to defend this. And if I ever, and since my rook isn't here, this is a real threat. So playing bishop e3 is like not exactly what I want to be doing, but it was required given the position. Basically, when I was back here, I didn't realize that takes and takes opens this battery up. That's such as life. He plays knight d7. Obviously, he doesn't want to play here. He wants to be able to play c5, and then he's got this pin along this diagonal. I played knight c3, which plays into his hands. Again, I think that I should be playing something like knight d2 here, so that way, if c5 comes, I can take without fear of losing my rook. But as presently stands, now there's a pin against this pawn. So when c5 comes, this is a real threat. So I can take here because while this knight is undefended, so too is this bishop. He plays bishop e7. And I'm trying to remember what I did. Aha! I played knight takes d5. And this is smart for a few reasons. One is if he takes here, and then I have now I have time to save my rook. And he can't take with the bishop because then I'll take here. So he plays e takes. I can play queen takes d5 check. Actually, let me think here. Why didn't I want to play this? 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Because I sacrificed a knight, so I do need to gather more pawns. Queen takes check, queen f7, and then I can move my rook. So now you'll see he has 2 pieces, but he only has 4 pawns. And I have 1 piece, but I have 7 pawns. So I'm basically down a piece for 3 pawns, which in this position is actually pretty interesting. In this position, he plays bishop c3, attacking this rook, and I play the only sensible move here, which is rook e2. I could move my rook back here, but doesn't really matter. And now that the rook is here, I'm free to move this bishop if I ever need to. So he plays knight f6, and I decide to trade, which is apparently the wrong move. And then I played rook d3, trying to shoo his bishop out. If he goes in here, that's obviously the wrong move. I get to push my pawns without sort of threat of recourse. So he plays bishop a5. I play a3, preparing to threaten his bishop, sort of solidify my pawn structure here, and then this pawn will be able to move forward when it's time to make the break. He plays bishop c7 without my prompting, and I played rook ed2. I want to own the only open file. This is never going to happen. Now the computer doesn't love this for me because obviously I'm down 3 pawns for a piece. But if you give it some time, it doesn't think it's so bad. My opponent plays b6. And so I debated, do I want to push? But then this pawn might be weak. I can take, and then if bishop takes, I can take here and push, which is exactly what happens in the game. Take, and push. And so now it's 6 pawns against 3 pawns and a knight. And so now it's just a matter of, do I have appropriate control here? So he plays rook e8, threatening checkmate. I played f3, which the computer thinks is fine, but I did not love. In particular, he can play here, and the reason that I can't take is because this is then mate, right? So that's bad for us. So it's fine. He didn't see that, so he played rook e7. He's trying to line up. He wants to get ready to trade. In particular, his knight is defending this square, so he can takes and takes when the time comes. I play h3, recognizing that I really don't want this to happen. And so now that I've got appropriate lift for my king, he trades, and I decide to trade. And so now it's 6 pawns versus 3 pawns, and a knight versus a king. And you'll notice that the computer thinks that this is equal, but it's 0.1 for white, maybe? So I move my king up. He solidifies his knight on a square, and that actually gives me more of an advantage. I continue to run my king to the middle, and he plays king f7. And so now it's a matter of, can I convert this 3-on-1 or make it dangerous enough that he has to move both his king and his knight in this direction? And then can I run around here to get to these pawns? And so we spend a fair amount of time moving. And so in this position, I make a mistake. If I push c3, so if I push c4, then I'm giving his king this inroad, and I guess I can walk in here, and so then maybe he's going to come around here. And the trouble I have is I don't have any pieces that can patrol both sides, so I need to be creating threats wherever I can. So it's actually better for me to keep this relatively solid and then try and come over here and get this. The computer thinks it's all a draw, but we're giving it our shot here. I play c3, and the mistake it makes here is that this threatens both of these pawns. So if I push this pawn, he can take the a pawn. So what I recognize now is I should just go ahead and play c4, which is the only correct move. It forces his king back, so now at least if he's getting the pawns back here, he's not getting it with his king also in the proper position. So he moves back, and then I push b4, and the reason there is I'd much rather have 2 connected pawns than 2 split pawns, right? If I don't push that, if I make some other move, then when he takes here, first of all, it's check, and I have to move over. But also now I have split pawns, and that's not It's not great for me. You'll see it already says minus 2.8, and it probably gets worse. So I play b4, attack the knight, and now I've got 2 pawns here. Now I can't just push because pawn takes, knight takes, and it's back in the game, and now it's knight and 3 versus it's knight and 2 versus 3, which is maybe a win for him. Here, let's see actually. What does the computer think? Takes. Yeah, and it does not like this for me. It says it's minus 2, and that I have to defend accurately. So I wait, because if he just leaves his knight here, he can't do anything. He can't get his king anywhere in here, right? Like, I'm defending all of the squares, so he literally can't walk his king forward, so I can just walk up, probably to this square, actually, because if I go here, then it's just check, right? So that's not great. So now I say, okay, cool. I can just wait. So I go king d4, and he goes king d6, and I play h4, because I'm like, okay, cool. All things being equal, I'm just going to continue to push on this side, and I still have the 2-on-1 over here, so your knight is tied down. He plays g6, and I played king e4, and I can't remember why I thought that was fine. Because I should be worried about this check, maybe? Maybe that check just doesn't do anything. Another thing, in theory, perhaps I could do here is play h5, but the computer, again, gives this as a complete draw. So king e4 is as fine as anything. He plays knight b2, attacking this pawn. Now I can play this with check. So takes, and he has to take with his king, so I get to run my king up. He plays king check. I have to move back. He plays knight check, forking my king and my pawn, so I play the only good move, king f3. He moves back. I move forward again. He checks me, and now I'm up. So we're similar to where we were about 5 moves ago, except my king is up there and he can't check me. So he moves his knight forward. I push f5. He moves his knight back. I take. He takes that pawn with check. I move my king forward. Check here. Takes. And so now, like, this is a draw. Like, this is either a win for white or it's a draw. In theory, black could checkmate me if my king was, like, stuck in the corner, and then the knight can come get me because my pawn could be blocking my king. But in practice, this is not the case. So I spent a little while trying to see whether or not I could force him to do stuff. And when we got to this position, he was like, "Oh, is this insufficient material, really?" And I was like, "Yeah," because he took the thing and then I stuck my hand out. And he's like, "Is this a draw by insufficient material?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't know that. I thought I could come get you." Anyways, an interesting game. My first over the board draw. So that was very interesting. And if we go and look at the review, we'll see, no blunders, a couple of mistakes on both sides, a couple of inaccuracies on both sides. But I played 87.7 and he played 87.8. So a very, very, very even game. And like the worst evaluation for anybody was minus 3-ish in this position. It does not love this position for me. The 3 pawns for the piece. But admittedly, like, this is going to be hard for anybody to convert, really. So I felt all right about it. A pretty good game. Anyways, let's see how I was feeling after the game.
Okay, folks, round 1 in the books. I was playing Zach Schuster. I had white, and he was rated 1071. I'm rated like 1197 right now. And he played a variation of the Scandinavian e4 d5 that I'm unfamiliar with. And it ended up in a middle game that I wasn't exactly sure about. And then I ended up having to trade a piece for 3 pawns, which was very interesting, and it ended up liquidating. And at times I thought I was winning, and at times I was worried about losing. And it ended up in an insufficient material draw. So hard to complain too much about that. It was a very interesting game. I can say that for sure. Feeling pretty good about it. It was interesting to see, actually, my opponent had some of the same stuff that I had, which is they get a little, like, about it. I don't physically shake, I don't think, but I do feel very, like, and I could definitely tell that I was hungover. I'm still very light sensitive, and, yeah, it's a little bit of a headache, but concentration wasn't too bad. I didn't play anything too ridiculous, and I posed some real threats, which was fun. And so I'm looking forward to round 2, so we'll see how it goes. I think that's all I've got for you. See you in the next one.
Oh, and one last thing I wanted to do was show you guys how I do some of the rating lookups here. So if we look here, I've looked myself up on the player search, and when I click on that, then it gives me a look at myself. I can see my regular rating is 1197 based on 24 games. So then what I do is I go over to this rating estimator that uschess.org has. And so I put in my total score, which is I got 0.5. Is again my opponent, which is 1071, which they have posted. My current rating is 1197, and my number of prior games is 24. So my performance for this tournament is 1071. Obviously, I drew a player that was of that. And my new rating should be 1187. That's what we expect after one round. That's what my new rating should be. So hopefully you guys found that interesting.